the leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method, and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry, or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's
get ready to fight from within. You're about to go behind enemy lines on K98.
Roger, 3-2. Goliath copies all. Go ahead. The target is surrounded by multiple firms entering what appears to be a residential area. Requesting permission to engage.
From the People's Republic of New York City, you're now going behind enemy lines with Gene Baradelli and Russ Gallo.
And you're now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, America? Gene Baradelli here with you. Happy New Year, one and all. Getting ready for an amazing 2016 election season. So many news stories going to be popping up through the year. Wow, are we excited here. We're ready to get going. But first, we're going to take you on a little investigation. We're going to be doing a little storytelling, and we're going to be doing a little debating. Talking about what in the world is going on in Oregon. Has anybody ever seen Burns, Oregon on a map? Does anybody really know where it is? I sure don't. I had to look it up. And even now, sitting here, I really don't know where it is or what it's all about. But here's what I do know. It's become a political flashpoint. And it's started a debate over what is a patriot, what is a terrorist, how do you tell the difference between an activist, a rebel, a terrorist, so many different interplays that we're going to be discussing. But to frame the issue right now, let's introduce everyone to the main players in this. And the main players we're talking about are the men and women, I assume there are women there, who call themselves Citizens for Constitutional Freedom, led by the son of Cliven Bundy. His name is Eamon Bundy. And, well, you know what? Instead of me telling you about him and what he's all about and what he stands for, I'm not the mainstream media. I'm not that guy. Let him tell you in his own words. Here is an interview done by the hack job at CBS this morning trying to uncover the motivations and intent of what the media seems to be portraying as domestic terrorism.
Tell us what you're trying to do.
Well, we have a situation here where our federal government has come down upon the people. They've been doing it for some time now, and there's been some tremendous abuses. They've used the courts to prosecute and to basically take the land and resources away from the people.
Why are you armed?
We are serious about being here. We're serious about defending our rights, and we are serious about getting some things straightened out.
Do you anticipate that this could lead to violence?
Only if the government wants to take it there.
I saw an interview with one of your members who was heading there today who said he is prepared to die for this cause. Do you feel the same?
I feel that absolutely, but probably not in the way that most people will take it. I am a family man. I have 6 children. I have a business. I'm actually own a truck shop with about 25 employees. I have no desire to go out and to lose my life. I want to live free. I want to be able to prosper. And I know that I need the land and resources to do that.
What went into the planning of this? Had you been planning this a long time? Is this a spur-of-the-moment move? The Hammond family says you're not speaking for them. So how did this come about?
Every one of those ranchers have had to leave their land, leave their heritage and their hard work in order to make this refuge. And that's really what this is about. The people of this county are being abused. And now they're being prosecuted because they're not willing to sell to the federal government. And it's just one of those things that just cannot continue. The abuses and the damages will be it's too critical to allow it to continue.
Who is the enemy here?
Well, I don't really want to say there's any enemy. The federal government really is acting in the way that they were set up to act. The states have failed to protect the counties, and the counties has failed to protect the people. And so now you have a situation where the people have to stand on their own to protect and defend their own rights. So really our federalist system has failed. And we need the states to stand up and say, hey, you're not going to do this here. And we need the counties to stand up and say, you're not going to do this here, so that the people can go about and peacefully live and benefit from the land and the resources and prosper and regain their wealth across the country.
Would you define this as an armed militia who's prepared to stay indefinitely?
Absolutely not. This is concerned American citizens that are willing to stand for their rights.
All right. Ammon Bundy, thank you so much.
Now, does that sound like terrorism to you? You know, I'm a firm believer in that you know what things are when you see them. And this does not fit the mold for what a terrorist is. Further context here. For those of you who don't know, Ammon Bundy and a group of ranchers, in reaction to the conviction of 2 members of the Hammond family over arson charges on federal land, have taken siege over a federal building, a set of federal buildings in a wildlife refuge in a national park area. Now, this isn't the first go-round with the Bundys and, land management issues and things like that. The family traces their animosity, I guess we'll say, back to the late 80s when the Bureau of Land Management decided, without any science backing it up at all, that grazing would no longer be allowed on certain lands in Clark County, Nevada, which is away from Oregon, and they wouldn't be allowed to have their cattle graze there because the Mojave Desert turtle would be deemed an endangered species. Now, no causal connection made between the Mojave Desert turtle and grazing by cattle being a detriment to their population. But why ruin a good story? Swaths of land were taken away from ranchers, destroyed ranching in the area. But what did it allow for? It allowed for development of this valuable land by big business, by solar energy, the Solyndras of the world, on this land. And what about those people developing? Do they have to worry about endangered species? See, they don't have to worry about it. The ranchers can't graze there. But when you're building on the land and you find one of these endangered species, crack, boom, bang, you can kill them. It's a weird, wild story. And, of course, we know what happened in 2014 with the Bundy Ranch saga. So you see that the people involved here are more than just everyday citizens. They're people with an issue. So the issue then becomes the genuineness of the issue they're fighting for, and the problems that they cause and create in their wake. Is this a movement that's co-opted? Is this a movement that should be put down by force? And what about all those guns they're carrying? I'm from the People's Republic of New York City. I can't carry a gun around. I can't carry a shotgun. there are tons of legal, philosophical, and constitutional issues here. And what we're going to do is we're going to get our friend J.C. Polanco. He's an attorney. He is a friend. He's a Politico. We're going to get him on the line right now to discuss the issue. And while we're ringing J.C. up, and here he is. J.C., you there with me?
Yeah, I'm here. How are you?
All right, J.C. Polanco, attorney, professor, Politico, and more importantly, a very good friend. Thanks for coming on the show. How you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, man. A lot of success, and I hope you have a great year on your program.
Oh, Happy New Year to you, and congratulations for becoming the Republican contributor for Channel 41 Univision here in New York City.
I just celebrated my first year, so I'm very excited about it. Just celebrated a full year on. Luis Miranda's the Democrat, I'm the Republican, and we have some really good times. So tonight at 11, we're going on live during the 11 o'clock news, and we're going to be debating the president's executive order. So it's going to be an exciting topic. So if you guys want to brush up on your Spanish, put Univision on tonight.
Well, hey, listen, I got the SAP button. Maybe it works in reverse. you know, but the reason why JC or I are on, I like to needle JC a lot, especially on social media and Facebook, because JC is a very proud Republican, and he's very outspoken with his views, and every now and then we clash and needle each other. And this issue regarding what's going on in Burns, Oregon, with Mr. Bundy and the ranchers that are there in reaction to the arrest and conviction of members of the Hammond family for arson. We've been needling each other a little bit back and forth on social media, and it turned into such a great argument we had to do it on air. So, JC, let's get into it right now. You say, and I hope I'm paraphrasing you right, you can feel free to correct me. You say that those who have taken siege in the federal property and the federal buildings in Burns, Oregon, are akin to terrorists. Yes?
Not only are they terrorists, they fit the description perfectly. I mean, and for your listeners, listen, I'm not making this definition up or trying to be cute. Gene and I are attorneys. We know the law, and you can just go to FBI.gov. These guys are clearly bona fide terrorists. But more importantly, they're no good thugs. That's exactly what they are, and we've got to stop calling them a militia. Gene, a militia is state-sponsored. A militia protects the state and the country, but these guys are a bunch of anarchist thugs with guns. And we really got to admit it. And I see a lot of your followers, Gene, are really putting these guys on pedestals and considering them heroes. That's a shame. These guys are not heroes. These guys are bona fide thugs is what they are.
Okay, well, let's do this. You made reference to the FBI definition for terrorism. I have it here, and we're going to break it down for everybody so that they understand. Domestic terrorism means activities with the following three characteristics. So, all three. First, involve acts dangerous to human life that violate federal or state law.
Check.
Does this qualify, JC?
I know. What?
Does that qualify? Have there been acts dangerous to human life?
Yes. Listen, Gene, tell your listeners what's going on, Gene. Tell them that in the county in Oregon where these thugs have taken over federal property, tell them that the schools are closed. Tell them that the county courts are closed. Tell them that people are petrified. Tell them that these guys are sitting there with guns, and they said very clearly that if the government comes and tries in any way to get them out, that they're not going to be afraid to use their weapons, and some lives will be lost. That's a threat. And can I tell you, I don't know what more proof your listeners are going to need to call these guys what it is. These are, we've seen it before. We saw it at Ruby Ridge, we saw it at Waco, and we saw it with Timothy McVeigh. So, I mean, these guys are classic terrorists, and we need to bulldoze, as you heard Joe Scarborough say this morning, we need to send a message. President Obama can't just sit here and allow for this to happen. And shame on the governor in Oregon for not calling in the National Guard. For the last year, Gene, you want to keep reading, your guys can go and check it out. I mean, it's clear. So
I want them to.
Year, go ahead. I get excited at seeing people. And you've seen the comments on your Facebook, Gene. People are excited for these guys.
I've seen some comments both ways. I've seen many comments going your way as well. But let's empower people. Let's give them the information. Point number one you say is fulfilled. Here's point number two. Appear intended either to intimidate, coerce a civilian population, to influence the policy of a government by intimidation or coercion, or to affect the conduct of a government by mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping. Now, one of those 3 points, I will grant you. One of those 3 points is probably there.
Oh, okay,
I'm going to
okay,
give
good.
you
So we
intimidate or coerce. I'm not going to give you mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping.
Wait, you're not giving me those, you said?
Well, I'm not giving you mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping.
Oh, okay. So you're
think-
not going to give me the fact that these guys were originally part of a protest movement against the decision of a court on 2 ranchers, and in doing so, decided in their protest against the government that they're not going to take over a federal building to go against the government, and we're going to then ignore that they have weapons and that they have already threatened to no one to come over or they're going to kill them. No question about it.
I don't think that I've disagreed with you yet, JC.
You did. You just said you won't give me that.
No. I said that point 2 is fulfilled because you need either 1, 2, or 3. I think that they are intimidating or coercing a civilian population. I think that they are trying to influence policy of the government by intimidation. You only need one of those 3. No. I said I don't think that they're in it for assassination. I don't think they're in it for mass destruction. And I don't think they're out to kidnap people in Burns, Oregon. That's all I said.
Oh, so you don't think any of those things are part of the plan?
I don't think so at all, and here's why I don't think so. I think that Ammon Bundy is the conservative equivalent of Occupy Wall Street. I don't see a difference between... Well, listen, JC, we are part of the culture...
Wait, come on, man.
JC, don't make me mute you, man. Come on, let me make my point, and you can go after me all you want.
Oh, you're going to do that's an MSNBC move. You're going to mute me because I disagree with you?
I am not going to mute you. I'm saying let me make my point, and then you can retort. I'm looking to be civil with you, my brother. Come on now. Here's what I'm saying.
Go ahead, Jim. Go ahead.
Here's what I'm saying. I think the definition fits just as well for Occupy Wall Street. Involve acts dangerous to human life that violate federal or state law. I think what they did in Zuccotti Park and across the nation violate state law. 7,700 arrests. No arrests so far in Oregon or even, in other areas that are sympathetic. Appear to intimidate or coerce a civilian population. I was down at Zuccotti Park. I didn't feel safe. Influence policy by intimidation or coercion. Absolutely. I mean, come on. And occur primarily within the United States. The only difference between the two is that the culture in the rancher life and the culture in the urban life differ in this way. Guns are a part of your livelihood legally there. I don't judge ranchers for having guns. I've never been there and I have no frame of reference. But I don't see the difference between Occupy Wall Street and these guys. Should they be taking over a federal property? No. But I think we've had protests that have been a lot worse in other places. You go ahead, JC.
Gene, I think it's a really weak. I mean, I don't agree with the Occupy Wall Street folk. I think that I was very angry at a lot of the things they were doing. But let's be honest. You want to close down a park and do sit-ins and do protesting outside of Wall Street, and you got to compare that in any way whatsoever. So what's happening here, it's identical to what happened in Ruby Ridge. It's identical to happen every time a bunch of these guys that call themselves ranchers, that get guns together, they recruit people against the government, and they take over buildings, and they try to destroy things. We put them together, we call them militias, and we somehow are going to make that the equivalent. We're going to put them in the same in the same category as a bunch of guys, college students, college graduates, people that are upset with Wall Street, that are protesting Wall Street outside, and we're going to ignore the fact.
Whoa, Jason, you know as well as I do.
You can't compare it.
You can't compare it because both movements are co-opted by groups. Okay, the Occupy Wall Street movement, I was down there all the time. I saw the Communist Party down there, Revcom.com. Come on, I saw them down there, too.
These guys have guns, Gene. These guys have guns.
So the only difference is these guys have guns.
Oh, come on.
So the only difference is these guys have guns.
Iranis Rodriguez from Washington Heights, Sumani Williams from Brooklyn, marching with freaking Occupy Wall Street folk, protesting in Wall
The Revolutionary
Street,
Communist Party was there too, JC.
But Gene, you made the comparison.
And they got co-opted.
They're not saying people are going to die. But they're not going to say people are going to die, man. They're not saying if anybody comes here, we're going to have some lives lost. You can't make that.
Of course they said people were going to die. They were talking about killing cops. They were talking about killing cops.
Talking about killing cops. Gene, hold up.
Occupy Wall Street was talking about killing cops. Black Lives Matter movement was talking about killing cops.
You cannot look at a movement like Occupy Wall Street, which I'm not here to defend because I do not agree with their positions. And you cannot look at these movements and make them the equivalent of what's happening out in Oregon. And you cannot even fathom a life where these things are equal in any way whatsoever. As a matter of fact, let's be honest. This whole year, Gene, I have sat here and watched the Black Lives Matter movement and the Justice League movement do their protests across the country for what they perceive to be an attack on unarmed African Americans by the police. Now, I have to tell you, I am the last guy that you're going to have on your program to use the race card on anything. I just don't agree with it. I think that the race card should be something,
you never do.
Gene, it's something that should be kept like a fire extinguisher. Only break in case of emergency. Okay?
Agreed.
And if I'm trying to resist arrest and I'm struggling with a cop to get his gun and I get shot, that's not racism. If I apply for a job and another guy gets it and he's qualified, guess what? That's not racism. So let's be clear with your listeners. I'm not that guy. But
no, absolutely right, and I will vouch for that. I will vouch for that right now on air.
For this entire year, Gene, I have seen nothing but many of my students that are peaceful, peaceful. And I have seen people like Tamika Mallory that are peaceful. I got to tell you, they're peaceful people that I disagree with, that have decided that they want to protest what they consider to be an attack on African Americans, unarmed African Americans by the police. I have seen countless National Guard, local police, tanks, helicopters, national media. I have seen OMG reaction by local government against unarmed people, many of my students, because they are protesting peacefully, something that I approve of. The protest of peacefully is okay. And I have seen these people on television being called thugs. I have seen these people put under arrest. I have seen these people be treated as if they are the biggest anarchists in the world. And all of us have seen that all year long, which is why I'm very concerned as to what I'm seeing now, Gene. When I see guys that are on my team look at what's happening in Oregon and not say to themselves, wow, this governor is really not going to call in the National Guard. Just 2 weeks ago, Gene, at the America's Mall, we had people lined up to protest peacefully. Hundreds of National Guard officers and machine guns showed up to a bunch of young African-American, Hispanic, white, all the people together that wanted to protest police brutality, or what they perceived to be police brutality. And we saw that on the television. We continue to call them thugs, and we continue to attack them as being crazy, and I can't believe this is happening. At the same time, we are watching a bunch of guys that consider themselves a militia when they're nothing more than a gang. Militias are state-sponsored, by the way. And these guys have been protests to the government and wanting to change government, have taken over a building that belongs to you and me, Gene. And they said, if anybody comes to us, we will make sure their lives are lost. And the whole school system is closed. County courthouses are closed. And we're not even really looking at these guys as if they're a problem. We're actually defending them. And it's a problem to me to see we lose credibility with voters, especially in New York, when Republicans like you and I and guys that follow your page and listen to your show can't see the realities of what's happening. The perception is terrible. The perception is a racist one. And it's not that you guys are racist. You guys that agree, and I'm not saying it's not that you guys are racist. I think that by not viewing it, it could be seen as racist. By not viewing it through the prism of reality, we are losing credibility. And as Republicans in New York and as right-of-center people, we have to be conscious of what's going on in Oregon.
I agree with you that perception of reality. And listen, JC, I don't want you to miss your next appointment because it's getting to that time. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate your point of view. I agree with a lot of things that you say. I hope you listen to, after you hang up, you listen back on podcast at www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us, and you hear what I have to say about this, but I know you have to get to another appointment. Folks, JC Polanco, check him out. Go to his website, www.jcpolanco.com. Check him out on Univision 41. And, man, have a great show. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your perspective on this.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you coming on.
All right. Take care, bro. Good to talk to you.
Take care.
And that was JC Polanco, who is, listen, he's a great friend, and I appreciate everything he had to say. I think I'm taking more of a devil's advocate point of view here because I think I see the frustration of these people a little better than JC does. Because you cannot put an urban perspective on what's going on in Burns, Oregon. He kept harping on people with guns being in this place. He kept harping on that they're armed, that everything's shut down. This is not New York City, folks. This is a rinky-dink little town in Oregon that I still can't find on a map. And guns are a way of life for many of these people. I don't think it's the guns that are intimidating people. I think the issue is you have someone like Ammon Bundy, whose family has close to a 30-year-long rivalry with the federal government, looking to get some awareness and attention for his issue and doing it the wrong way. The Hammond family has publicly said that they don't speak for us, these ranchers who have taken over this building. Presidential candidates like Ted Cruz and Jeb Bush and John Kasich and others have come out and condemned him for what they do at this facility. But then I gotta think the word terrorist is a little strong. Because while it may fit the textbook definition of what a terrorist is, I think we all know terrorism when we see it. And to be a terrorist, I believe there's something left out of that definition that's in the federal laws, and that's the word malice. There has to be a malicious intent for a terrorist to kill, to maim, to harm. I mean, listen, I have friends who are lobbyists and go up on the Hill and advocate for positions. They almost meet the definition of terrorist if it wasn't for the type of coercion and intimidation that would be necessary to meet that point. But that's patriotic to do, to go petition people and try to influence policy. But if this culture has guns in it, then you know what? Maybe we need to be a little more understanding of that, not call them terrorists. And my final thought on this topic before we hit our break is pretty simple. I think escalating violence will not solve anything here. Escalating violence in Zuccotti Park didn't do anything. If you remember, you had to tell them that they wanted to clean the area to get them out of the park and then keep them out. Violence begets violence. I don't think that these ranchers are armed to kill. Do I think they're armed to defend? Yes, and I think by going after them, you're going to be playing right into their hands. It's a very complicated situation, but the thing I want to tell all my listeners out there is, don't take my word for it. Don't take JC's word for it. Think and research for yourself. There is a lot of great information out there that you can find, read, interpret, and form an opinion on. We're going to take a quick break here. I want to thank everybody for listening to the show. When we come back, we're going to be talking about media hypocrisy with Dan Gaynor. We're going to go behind some enemy headlines here with Newsbusters and the Media Research Center. Gene Baradelli, Behind Enemy Lines. We'll be back right after this.
I'm Vito. And I'm Vito. And we're from WNJC's The Vito and Vito Show. Every Friday at 1 p.m., you can hear Vito and Vito bring you the perspectives of two college-age millennial conservatives who are committed to defending the principles of free markets, liberty, freedom, and individualism from Brooklyn, New York. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Vito and Vito Show. And check out our blog posts and articles at VitoandVito.com. Vito and Vito Show every Friday, 1 p.m. on WNJC 1360 AM, Philadelphia's Renaissance Station. In Brooklyn, it's nothing but the truth.
There's a movement in healthcare today. It's a movement of people that's ready to stand up and take charge of their healthcare. It's people like you and me who are tired of paying too much for healthcare and getting too little. People who are standing up for their values and letting their conscience make decisions based on timeless principles. It's a movement that's sweeping the nation, and you need to be a part of it. Liberty HealthShare is leading the movement of people who are looking for an alternative to traditional health insurance. Liberty HealthShare is a healthcare sharing organization of people who are sharing the cost of healthcare in an easy and efficient way. Choose your own doctor, your own hospital, and live out your values in healthcare. Join the movement. Together, we're changing healthcare for good. Go to www.joinlhs.com or call 800-722-8041.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save.
Your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Behind Enemy Lines. Back on the air.
Gene Baradelli back behind enemy lines, and on the line with me right now, it's that time of the month again. No, not that. Dan Gaynor, Newsbusters, how you doing, pal?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well. You're getting the better version of me. If you got me yesterday or the day before, I was in a lot of pain from a dental problem. So,
oh man,
as you can see, you're not getting me when I was undergoing dental Tourette's, where my tooth hurt so bad that I would periodically toss out verbiage that we can't say on radio.
Oh, thank goodness for that. Well, listen, time to go behind some enemy headlines. First of all, let's just get right into it because we're recording this on the day that the president gave his whole gun control spiel across national media. Dan, what has he been doing? First of all, it took so long, this rollout. Was he trying to get everybody on his side, including the mainstream?
Well, I mean, the rollout was intended to get not the media on his side. He knows they're on his side. If you remember, the San Bernardino shooting happened, and the media in America immediately tried to turn the shooting, the terror attack, the Islamic terror attack, into an issue of guns. The very next day, you got the New York Times editorializing on the front page of the New York Times, anti-gun, take away guns. So the problem Obama's got is that fell like a lead balloon, and then immediately Trump started talking about radical Islam, and suddenly all three of the next debates, the undercard for the GOP, the main GOP debate, and the main Democratic debate, were all talking about radical Islam. Trump was more powerful than the media, so he can't have just the New York Times. He needs the media unified. He needs to, he was building this media coalition. He knows he's got the left. They'll follow him anywhere, but he wants to make sure that the media are on his side. So that was what he's teeing up today. Most of what he's doing is going to be stopped. That's not the issue. The issue is how he's trying to play the media. And, of course, he brings in Gabby Giffords, and he says a bunch of things, some of which are factually wrong, and we can get into that, but he deploys the media moment. The media moment. You got to have a media. You can't have media. You can't have the media unified nationwide without a media moment. So he has
manufacturing one versus creating one, two totally different things. They're legitimately natural media moments. Trump, you brought him up, is a master of delivering spontaneous media moments. Isn't that fair to say?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, and Cruz did it, has done it in the debates. Rubio has done it. A masterful politician can do it on the spur of the moment. But this White House doesn't do that. They concoct one. So in this particular case, and yes, people are probably going to get, Obama fans are going to get angry with me because I'm going to say this, he faked crying. I think it looked very artificial. I think I've heard people talk about him getting an Oscar nomination, but he cries right in the middle. And if you're watching the speech, it looks like he's building to a crescendo of his speech, and he's getting a little verklempt. And then the tears roll, and like, I got to force crying at this moment, and then when he cried, I am not exaggerating. The room applauded because, of course, they had their moment. And what do you get? Because I haven't seen the evening news shows yet tonight, but I can tell you already the headline on the Washington Post and New York Times: teary or tearful. Take your pick. But it's in both headlines because we have got a coalition of American media that are going to push an agenda, all because of a fake crying episode. John Boehner cried for years about everything, and the media made fun of him for it. So it's not a matter of crying. It's a matter of crying for something the media support. And how do we know they support it? Because we did an analysis a while back during a couple of years ago, during one of the previous pushes for gun control, 18 of the top 20 newspapers editorialized for gun control. 18 of the top 20. Of course they're for it. On Thursday, Obama's having a town hall on CNN to push gun control. CNN's giving him an hour or 2 hours, I can't remember how long it is, and giving him Anderson Cooper, who just besmirched what limited reputation he had on New Year's Eve, hanging out with professional sleazebag, Kathy Griffin, who actually takes off her top live on TV.
Another great moment for CNN.
Yeah, I mean, so literally on New Year's Eve, a week before we're supposed to treat Anderson Cooper as a serious journalist, he's hanging out with Kathy Griffin, the self-proclaimed D-lister, taking off her top, and we're supposed to take these people seriously. It's a clown show.
It's an absolute clown show. As we're discussing this right now, I am currently on newsbusters.org, and I'm reading a great story by Kyle Drennan running down the media reaction to the president's address, and how Lester Holt and Chris Jansing of NBC were talking about just what you were saying about how emotional the president got, and they were falling over themselves for this deeply emotional appeal. And going through the article, George Stephanopoulos of ABC talking about gun violence statistics right before the president takes the stage. So. Oh my goodness! You couldn't make it up.
Two key things about George Stephanopoulos. One, he used to work for the Clinton White House and apparently has never stopped working for Democrats. I mean, really, just has never stopped. And the other, the media love promoting this whole issue that gun violence is out of control, when in fact gun violence, if you wanted to make the case years ago, gun violence, New York had a recent high in homicides. I don't remember what the number is this year, 300 and some. But back, I think like in the 70s, it had like 1,000. I mean, gun violence has massively declined nationwide. And Obama is up there talking about gun violence, and he lists suicide as one of the reasons. Now, I've known people kill themselves. Okay, it's an awful thing, and I'm not. Please understand that. But people who want to kill themselves will kill themselves. Japan has almost no guns at all, and it's ahead per capita of how many people on the list of how many people kill each other each year. They're not killing each other with guns; they're just killing themselves. That's suicide. They're better at suicide even though they have no guns. People who want to kill themselves will kill themselves. We've got a couple states now that it's legal to commit suicide. So maybe the gun number will decline if we just make it legal and let 100,000 people kill themselves. Then of the remaining, because it's about 30,000, so the remaining about 10, a lot of those are criminals killing criminals. Criminals kill criminals. That sounds criminal. If you kill
that's
somebody,
not much of a stretch there.
Yeah, you're not really obeying the law. How is another law going to affect these? How are 2 laws or 3 laws or executive orders or whatever they are, how are they going to stop that killer from killing somebody else? And so Obama puts out this stupid standard liberal talking point. Oh, if we could just save one. Well, here's the deal. Okay, if we could just save one person's life, will you give up the right to free speech? I mean, that's the argument. That's exactly the argument. If we save the right to free, if we save one child, then government should be able to come into your home and take anything we think is dangerous. You've got knives. The terrorists in Israel are using knives to attack Israelis. Okay, so we're taking all your knives. And also, since Britain cut down on guns, knife crime is way up. So we're taking away your knives. You can't have knives. Okay, we're taking away anything poison that you've got in your house. We're taking away the foods that make you unhealthy because, Lord knows, you're making yourself fat. So we're taking that away. We're taking away your car because lots of people die in cars. And we're just going to go down the line. And you're not going to have anything left. It's a stupid, it's utterly moronic logic to say, if we could just save one life. Because, you can take away everything in people's lives and save a life to the point where we're all sitting in a cave eating kale, and somebody's control. Here's it's 2 p.m. You now must eat 3 more leaves of kale.
You're eating that kale with your fingers because the forks were taken away as well.
Right, because they're dangerous. And
there
maybe
you
they
go.
give us a spork. Maybe we get a little plastic spork. That they would
too
let us
pointy.
have.
Too pointy.
I mean, but the media won't call him on it. They won't point out that he factually said, that you can buy guns over the internet. It's illegal. So much of what you can do with guns right now is illegal already, but they want to make more laws. More laws don't make us safe because the only people who are violating them are criminals.
And that's why this is a go-to soundbite, because it's a feel-good moment. Just like another go-to soundbite, Dan, is that people who want to protect their rights are wingnuts. And of course, I know we can talk about gun control all day long, but tying into that is the appearance of a gun in the hand of Ammon Bundy in Burns, Oregon, and how automatically run with that. Go ahead.
Think about where you just said this is, because it's in a part of America that 99.9% of Americans don't even know exists. Burns, Oregon. I mean, no one's ever heard of it before. The number of places you've heard about in Oregon does not include Burns, Oregon. So unless you've been there, unless you're an outdoors person, you've never heard of it. And so they take it over a facility that is in the remotest part of Oregon, putting no one under threat. No one's been harmed. Nothing has been damaged. Yet the media and the left desperately want to call them terrorists because they have this thing pushed by the SPLC that, scary white men with guns, they're terrorists. You want to know who's scary? How about Occupy Wall Street? And many of them were white, so we can be nice and neutral about this in a racial way. Many of them were white. Occupy Wall Street marched around this country, occupying territory. 7,700 of them were arrested for everything from attacking police and arson to vandalism to plotting a bomb of I think a bridge in Ohio, riot in Oakland, all sorts of problems, 7,700 of them. Ferguson protests, burned down a city, attacked police. The Freddie Gray protests in Baltimore, 400 businesses damaged. CVS and a brand new senior center is going up, were torched in the process. 130 policemen injured in those attacks. More policemen injured in the Freddie Gray protest than any singular event since 9/11 in America. And yet, the media don't want to call them terrorists. They don't want to call people who shut down airports and shut down roads terrorists. They simply want to call people who have done nothing. And when you really analyze what's going on in Oregon, and I'm not condoning the seizure territory, et cetera, but when you analyze it, the Bureau of Land Management is out of control. Even the Washington Post kind of admits that the Bureau of Land Management is out of control. It's an agency that just simply shouldn't exist. Living on the East Coast, it's really hard to understand why Westerners get upset about government control of land until you look at a map. And you realize that government controls 50 or sometimes I think almost 60 or more % of some of these states. I live in Maryland. That means, we'd lose quite literally 13 counties if we operate. But I think it's like 2% of Maryland is government control.
Staggering. It's staggering. But
Imagine,
you know what the media does, though,
Nevada, it's 54%.
Yeah, and what are they using it for? They're using it for solar energy plants that aren't going to work. And, and of course they don't care about the endangered wildlife that ranchers have to be aware of. They can just kill them at will. But you know what, pal? You got CNN, people like Brooke Baldwin, putting people on air, talking about what if Oregon occupiers were black or Muslim. And again, guys, go to Newsbusters, check out the article by Matthew Ballin, CNN boosts guest racial double standard, quote-unquote, claim about anti-federal protests. And he goes on and on about if Black Lives Matter protesters were to take over a federal building, they would wind up dead or in prison for life on terrorism charges. Come on!
Well, I mean,
racial double standards are the worst.
Well, it's provably false because, again, when the Freddie Gray protesters went berserk in Baltimore, and again, if you want to talk about the flashpoint, what happened to Freddie Gray was wrong. But does that give people an excuse to riot and injure 130 police? No. What happened in Baltimore? Police were told to stand down, even though a part of the city was burning. Told to stand down. Nobody was. I don't even know if anybody ended up being really significantly prosecuted for what they did in the Freddie Gray riots. But so armed people burning things, attacking police. Nobody was killed. It's ludicrous. But the left likes ludicrous arguments. You've got people going and shutting down malls, shutting down airports. If ISIS came to this country and shut down American airports, they get killed. But Black Lives Matter can do whatever the heck it wants. Shuts down major roads and cities. Shuts down a mall. Nobody gets killed. A few people get arrested, and that's it. Their claims are so ridiculous, so over the top that they bear nothing of resemblance to reality.
It's an alternate reality, pal. Listen, we're just about out of time with the segment. See, the phone's ringing. There's the bell. Guys, check out newsbusters.org. It's a project of the Media Research Center, America's leading media watchdog in documenting, exposing, and neutralizing liberal media bias. Check out newsbusters.org. Dan, anything else I need to plug? Because, gosh darn it, I love having you on the show. This is, like I tell you every month, this is my favorite subject to talk about because it's so easy to just get out of your mind crazy over this. And I find this is be therapeutic for me. It lets out a little steam.
If you want to plug anything, I think it's still time for people to buy tickets for the MRC cruise that's next month.
Oh, you know what? It is brick cold here in the People's Republic of New York City. Absolutely. We'll plug it during the show as well as soon as I get the information up. Dan, you're the man. Thanks for coming on the show. We'll talk to you again next month when I need to let out a little more steam.
Sounds good, man. I'll have steam to let out, too. Take care.
The show will be right back. But first, a word from Al Sharpton.
But resist we must. They're all jitty about a shutdown. The tortoise in the race, then co-author of Hubris. U2 lead singer Bono, Fran Drescher, Sigourney Weaver, suspect Jahar Tsarnaev, Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh. The show Rush Limbaugh hosts Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. Is Mike Muckery yesterday, Antonin Scalia, Kim Kardashian, and the Republican candidates, both Cairo and Benghazi. We rank behind Lavita. First stop, Kazakhstan to college students in Beijing. He's getting lunch at Chipotle in Iowa. Bain is appropriate. The GOP's tax day giveaway to millionaires. Why was traffic problems email sent? The Environmental Projection Agency. And what sequestration has done.
But wait, there's more.
We all know I've had my share of prompter issues. And here's the president meeting with a colocute. Republicans, Grinches, launching fistful of coal. Copies of the new issue of Charlie Hebdo. He also goes by the name Michael Zahabilba. 26-year-old Nina. Phone. Raymond Romano. Honor David Letterman. He died of accidental asphyxia. Al-Qaeda in Yemen. The start of school has been postponed several times. Massive manhood is underway. Who spoke at a white supremacist convention. You look at the hand you dealt with, there are not 60 Republicans after a historic historic when you hear of ISIS now waterboating all over the map on immigration. Did the New England Patriots cheat to get into the big game? NFL analyst and Hall of Fame player Troy Aikens, the writer slamming President Obama for talking with YouTube celebrities. What's the latest tonight in Iowa?
Well, in Ottawa.
And they gave this guy a TV show? Let's get back to our show.
Gene Baradelli, back behind enemy lines. I want to thank Dan Gainey for coming on the show. By the way, folks, the MRC Cruise, I believe they still think it's available. Go to mrccruise.com for more information. Want to get back on topic here for the end of the show. A couple of final thoughts and some housekeeping. Let's do the housekeeping first. Thanks for listening to the show. Check us out at www.behindenemylines.radio.us. Check us out on Facebook and on the Twitters at BEL_radio. And if you missed this show live, Tuesdays at 10 p.m. on Spreaker, you can hear us on any of our rebroadcast outlets, which include WNJC 1360 AM, Philadelphia's Renaissance Station, Red State Talk Radio, K98 Talk, High Plains Daily News Radio, and Sackheads Media, and, of course, Rebooting Liberty Radio Network. And if you miss any of those, we're also available for download and on demand as a podcast. You can check us out, like I said, on Spreaker, on iTunes, on Player FM, on Podbay.fm, on TuneIn, on Stitcher, and on iHeartRadio. Folks, getting down to the end of the show here, I got to give a shout-out to Mona Salama, doing a great job at Politichicks. She's also contributed here for the show, and she was up in New Hampshire this week. Don't ask me how she got. It's cold as you know what in People's Republic of New York City. Can't imagine how it is in New Hampshire. But you know what? She's braving the elements, and she is getting some great interviews with presidential candidates like Rand Paul. Now, check out Mona's article at politichicks.tv talking about Marco Rubio's plan for national security and the Middle East, and how he wants to have troops on the ground to go after Assad and to, deal with Saudi Arabia and Iran and Syria in the traditional neocon way of engaging military force, imposing will, and then worrying about the cleanup later on. Rand Paul disagrees, obviously. Take a listen to his reaction to Marco Rubio's comments made up in New Hampshire this week.
How he talks about how my Republican rivals are isolationists and they don't believe that we should topple Assad.
Yeah, and I think he also said that ISIS would be in favor of ending our bulk collection of phone records, the NSA reform. I think he's way off base. I think that if ISIS was for any legislation, they'd be for his legislation to let anybody come across the border anytime. But I do think that he mistakes national security. I think he is actually weak on national security because he's weak on border security. And I think toppling Assad allows ISIS a space to grow. And I think he needs to understand that regime change won't make the Middle East safer and probably allows radical Islam a foothold to thrive and be more of a threat to us.
And the question is that I always wonder, after what happened in Libya and Egypt, who are they going to replace it with?
Exactly. ISIS will fill that vacuum, and maybe, I've said that for 2 years now. It's a mistake to bomb Assad. Let's see if we can get some kind of peace agreement there, include the Russians in it, and I think we get something done.
What do you think of what's going on with Iran and Saudi Arabia?
It worries me, but I think it was a really bad move what Saudi Arabia did.
So there you go, a little bonus coverage here, Behind Enemy Lines. Thanks to Mona Salama. Check her out on Twitter, and check her out at politichicks.tv. A lot of great stuff there. I also want to thank J.C. Polanco for coming on the show. Man, is he passionate or what? I mean, for a guy who considers himself more center-right than right, he has the passion of 10 men twice his size. He really does. And while I don't necessarily agree with him on everything, let's find a common ground where we do agree on this issue going on in Burns, Oregon. Yes, armed siege of a federal facility should never be tolerated. I agree with that. I know Ted Cruz agrees with that. I know Jeb Bush agrees with that. That pretty much covers the entire Republican perspective right there. Yet the media will still brush with the same broad strokes and say this is this is what the Tea Party does, this is what the dummy wingnuts do, this is the worst of the right, and that's why you need Hillary Clinton. A woman who cares so much about gun control, she makes sure all of our bodyguards are armed to the hilt, no matter what, and to make sure that you don't have any whatsoever. Just saying. Listen, the armed siege of a facility, of course, wrong. Everyone agrees with that. I think all reasonable people will agree with that. But the government reaps what it sows. Again, just like we see everything else. This is a product of government mismanagement. This is a product of government ineptitude and incompetence. This is the product of big government. And of course the solution that people are saying is, let's just go kill them. Bunch of thugs. Let's just go kill them. Did we see that in Zuccotti Park? Did we see that across the nation with Occupy Wall Street? Why do those people, many of whom were committing crimes, many of whom were committing violent crimes, as we discussed before, 7,700 arrests throughout the nation, in Ferguson and Baltimore, hundreds of police officers assaulted in protest. Listen, I love the protester. I think the protester is the best of America. The person that stands up and says, whoa, stop, wait a minute, this is right, this is wrong, what you're doing is wrong, and you need to stop it. I love that person. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle they're on. What I don't love is the co-opter. The person who takes that purity, the person that takes that American spirit and twists it into a political agenda. And I don't care what side you're on. You know, J.C. Polanco talked about his kids going to protest, and that was a beautiful thing. But within that protest, and I saw it there and I wrote about it, was the Revolutionary Communist Party, was, the Labor Party in America, these fringe groups, the left-wing nuts, trying to take over. I was there, I filmed it. I saw the pre-made signs. I saw the pre-made chant sheets. They were all there. Yes, I'm sure there are tons of true believers out there. But for every true believer, you get a Sean King who wants to take money and be an opportunist. For every true believer, you got a revolutionary communist, a true believer. Come on, folks. Wake up, America. Think for yourselves. Act for yourselves. Be yourself. And be aware of what government does around you. I was sitting at the kitchen table last night with my liberal sister, investigating the history behind this family, the Bundys, in these ranch areas in Clark County, Nevada, and moving now to Oregon and all this stuff. And what we found was, government screwed them. Government said, we're taking away your grazing rights, something you've had for over 100 years, this family in particular. And we're going to stop it, cut it off, because there's a turtle there? Come on. It wasn't because there was a turtle there. Again, co-opters. It's not about the purity of protecting a life of a species. It's about the value of the land that someone who may be a friend of government or who may just be a businessman in general sees as a thing of value that they must have. Because, folks, if you look at the solar plants and the development that's going on there in Clark County, you see that there's disregard for the endangered species that they want to protect, or that there is valuable land there that's being used for study to come up with the self-fulfilling prophecy that the reason why they took away the land in the first place is the correct reason. By the way, coming up almost on 30 years, it's like 26 years, something like that, still haven't found a causal connection between the overgrazing of land and the plight of the Mojave Desert turtle. Just saying, America, start thinking, start asking questions, start being. Don't just let it all wash over you. Don't be part of the herd grazing in the field. Take a look around every now and then. Well, you know what, folks? I think that's going to just about wrap it up for me tonight. Final thought to wrap up and put a bow on 2015. Your new reigning and defending buffoon of the year, Baltimore Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake. Congratulations, Madam Mayor. You did it. The crowd's going wild for you. Congratulations. You were the biggest buffoon of 2015. How does it feel Ask Reverend Al, he'll tell you all about it. And speaking of Reverend Al, the Lifetime Buffoon Award goes to, and I can't believe I'm saying this, John Boehner. So sorry to hear that, but you know what? Them's the breaks. And that puts an end of our 2015, puts a nice bow on it. And Happy New Year, America. It's going to be a great year. So much to talk about, so much to do. This is going to be a very big year behind enemy lines. We hope it's a big year for you and your family. Keep tuning in, keep thinking, keep believing. And until next week, it's time to shut it down. Good night, folks. Have a happy and healthy one.
Our position's been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.behindenemylinesradio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance. Behind Enemy Lines. Part of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. A Rock Radio production. Copyright 2015. Back in 7 days. Out.